Track 2 will take place in the Wadi Rum Hall 1. Track 3 is in Wadi Rum Hall 2. In the Mount Nebo Hall, we have the Invest in ICT event, which is taking place today with one-to-one matchmaking for investors and up-and-coming technology businesses. I'm just going to take a couple more minutes for everybody who's outside to come back into the main plenary hall, and we'll get things rolling over here. Also, in case you have not noticed, our friends at Ipsos are running a survey outside. If you go straight out the main plenary hall, you'll see a screen in the back with a bunch of tablets. We'd love for you to participate in this survey, so just stop by during one of the coffee breaks or after lunch, or between panels on your way to the exhibition. Participate in the Ipsos survey, because we're going to share some of the findings during tomorrow's session. Also, tomorrow afternoon we have the Amman Tech Tuesdays session taking place in the afternoon. More information in your booklets, but that's going to be at about 12 noon. So from 12 to 2 p.m., that's going to be the Amman Tech Tuesdays session. Okay, I think let's begin, and as we get set up, we'll have more people coming in, but we have to move on. So, this session is the first of two about global information communications technology innovation, talking about global trends. And this is what we do. So we look at what is the state of affairs in the Arab world and in the Middle East, North Africa region, and then look at focusing on addressing how the sector overall is developing globally. Then we'll highlight some of the global innovation methodologies that are out there right now. What are the hot topics and mechanisms, particularly from a private sector point of view. So in part one, we're going to talk about big data, and then mobility and cloud computing. And to moderate this session, I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Jad Haj from Booz & Company. He's a principal at Booz & Company, and he'll be moderating this session. As well as his speakers, we have Sharb Al-Fakhouri, Vice President of Sales, Marketing and Services for Middle East and North Africa at Microsoft. Jean-Claude Mishaka, Vice President of Engineering Systems at Oracle. We have Martin Herdina, CEO of Wikitude. Ziad Matar, Senior Director of Global Business Operations at Qualcomm. And Bashar Kilani from IBM. So please welcome to the stage Jad Haj and our panelists.
Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Jad Haj, principal with Booz & Company. I primarily focus on serving telecom operators, address the challenge or the emerging challenges from ICT. Most of the things that you've heard today are actually opportunities for telecom operators. And I was just talking to Sharbel a little bit ago. You know, the telcos here in the region realize that this is an opportunity, but are facing several challenges to actually, you know, ramp up capabilities and start being effective ICT players. So having all the cash, you know, they hire us consultants to actually advise them on these topics. The topic of the discussion today is, as mentioned by Wajih, big data, mobility, and the cloud. So building on a lot of the discussions that took place earlier today, we're going to take these 3 trends and try to zoom into them in more detail. For sake of time, we're as you all know, we're running late. We're running about an hour late, so I'm going to try to be as efficient as possible without missing, obviously on the content and the expertise of all the gentlemen on the panel. So, we're going to try to be a bit more structured than the previous panel. I'm a consultant, so that's normal for me. I will start by, raising or posing a broad question to the panelists, and then I will, we will hear their opinions around this question. And then, if time permits, towards the end, if we have 10 minutes, I would like to also take questions from the audience. Again, depending on time, we'll see how that plays. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you gentlemen, one anecdote or one statement that Eric Schmidt made around big data not too long ago. I found it very interesting. What he said, and as all of you know, Eric Schmidt is now the chairman of Google, ex-CEO of Google. What Eric said is, from the dawn of time through 2003, the amount of digitized data available was around 5 exabytes. 5 exabyte is about a billion gigabyte. So just to imagine the magnitude. In 2010, society digitized the same amount of data in just 2 days. That was back in 2010, so 3 years ago. Nowadays, we do digitize the same amount of data, the 5 exabytes, every 10 minutes. So you can imagine the magnitude of data that is being generated every day, through mobile, online, all the social networking sites that we're all using. It's humongous. And many of the companies are realizing that this data that they're sitting on is actually valuable and could be used to serve customers in a better way, to extract more value from customers, to run their operations in a more efficient way. And this is going to be a topic that we're going to tackle, again, big data. The second topic is mobility. Again, no need for me to elaborate a lot on mobility. I think we're all, hooked on mobile. We cannot be, as a couple of minutes away from our mobile every day. A little bit of stats also. 80% of the population, of the global population, will have mobile phones by 2020. 80%. And another trend we're observing in mobility, and this probably is more on the B2B side, so businesses allowing employees to bring their own devices, to really open up, if you want, their systems to employees using their own platforms. So whether it's iPad, iPhone, Android handset, what have you, employees are now able to use their phone to access their workplace, whether it's an intranet set or what have you. The third, trend I want to mention, or the third statement I want to make around cloud is, and I'm sure you're hearing a lot about cloud. It's a buzzword in the region. We still do not have, if you want, substantial investments going into cloud. It's still an emerging trend, but still the opportunity is there, and there will be a substantial growth in this area in the near future. In terms of stats, $270 billion is the size of the cloud, or is the estimated size of the cloud market in 2020. Again, really staggering numbers. So, in order for us to really get into this, the way I want to do it, as I said, I'm going to ask a broad question and go through the panel, starting with Sharbil. The question I want to ask, and it's going to be the same question for everyone, because we want to hear their point of view, or the point of view of the company they're representing. The first question is, how do you see these trends, these 3 trends that I just went through, evolving globally and in particular in the region? And what are the challenges that regional players, whether businesses, individuals, governments would face in adopting or using these trends. So, Sharbil.
First, good afternoon. I'm glad to see more faces. Thanks for hosting us. First, I'm very happy to be in Jordan. I am someone who's very biased to Jordan. I declare that openly. I'm Lebanese, but I love Jordan. And I think I remembered with Karim today about the REACH initiative that he discussed 13 years ago, where he had like one PowerPoint page with 4 bullets, what is REACH? And I'm glad to see where Jordan is today. So to answer your question, you know, the trends that we all live today, mobility, cloud, big data, and you know, in Microsoft, we add to it another mega trend, which is social computing. If you look at those mega trends, they are really disruptive trends. And usually when you look at those trends, you say, wow, what's happening? And if I, you know, talk in the perspective of a CEO or a business leader, what do you do with these trends? Most of the time, business leaders, what do they want? They want growth, and they want to compete to win. But when you ask them what keeps you awake at night, he tells you like, I'm afraid that out of nowhere, a competitor would come with new products that really transforms the market. And that's really also what we go through as a company like Microsoft. You know, we are part of this fast transforming industry because if you recall, 3 decades ago, we were explaining to companies what does it mean to have a personal computer because they thought computers were, you know, big machines that sit in rooms. We went through a world where we had to explain and justify personal computers to be sitting in corporates as a secure environment. We went through a world where we saw the evolution from mainframe to client server. And now we're going through an era of evolving from a desktop in every home, on every desk, to a continuous cloud services for every person, for every device, and for every business. That's really the disruption that we're going through, which you're going through, and I think the only way to lead in this new world of business is by adopting and embracing those disruptions. Look at them as Osama said, these are opportunities. He was clearly saying like, I don't know what are they, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I know they are real opportunities. If I don't do anything, it's even riskier. So for me, I look at it, you need to innovate all the time. You need to hire the best people in the market. You need to really connect with your customers, and you need to listen more. And these things will help you stay ahead of the game and sometimes compete. I want to focus on the cloud piece. Because if you say the cloud, why the cloud? Why now? The cloud, it's about cost. And everybody in this world is looking, how can I be more cost effective? And the economics work clearly when you invest with the cloud or you invest on your own premises. The second area, it's around the flexibility and agility you have as a business to time to market, even as governments today. You know, we were working with in Mexico around taking the tax system and putting it on the cloud. These things used to take like a couple of years to happen, to provision systems for millions of users and to get the platform ready. Today, to develop these type of services on the cloud and application, it takes days, it takes weeks, and you can really get people to hook very fast. Also, when I look at it in terms of the whole way the cloud help you innovate. And this is important for countries and economies like the emerging markets, where we have small companies, we have entrepreneurs, we have startups, where they can really play in the big arena by using the cloud, because you don't need to do the capital expenditure. You don't need to be a big company to put your service or your offering on the cloud and really scale. So these are important. Then there's the other thing, what accelerates the cloud? The acceleration of the cloud is important when we create the right legal framework for it. When it comes to data, privacy, security, these are important. And the other important part is broadband. We spoke about broadband. Is it available? Is it like affordable? Cloud also needs broadband. And the last one is around skills. You know, we did a study in the US, and we realized that in the next 5 years, US will be missing 1.8 million cloud experts. So the opportunity to really embrace this model and this opportunity by serving the US and even globally is an opportunity for us to provide this type of services. So, and the last one I want to talk about is security. You know, security is important, but also there is some myth behind it. You know, because security is important in the cloud and outside the cloud. However, there needs to be policies that tell people exactly what does it mean, where their data is, what type of legal framework that supports their data, their privacy, and the security that could happen. Because also we even look at the recent attacks that you heard about in the news. These were not in the cloud. They were outside the cloud, most of them. So which takes the question like, would I be more secure if I put my service or my data with Microsoft or with the other companies? The answer is like, who has more R&D, more money, more engineers, more researchers that are protecting themselves? And this is because I believe that security is important, and I believe that people who want to go to the cloud should demand from their cloud vendor transparency, openness about how they are using their data, how their data are being kept in a private way and not being used, and also have the right transparency about the service you're offering and the SLA that you provide. So this is how I look at the cloud in a nutshell, from the Microsoft and from how we advise our customers and policymakers, especially the governments. Because one decision about the government to open up broadband will help the cloud. One policy from the government to protect the data, to provide more privacy laws, to provide more framework for security will enable a country and the companies and people to go for the cloud. Because if you decide not to use the cloud, you're deciding not to compete and not to benefit from the service.
Right. Thank you very much, Sharbel, for this interesting insight. And you know, I can confirm, as I mentioned, I work with many of the telcos in the region, and obviously I work a lot in Saudi Arabia. One of the key challenges telcos are facing in terms of you know, convincing or trying to convince their clients to move to cloud is this whole security issue. And in particular, you know, large companies, national companies, so the Aramcos, the SABICs of Saudi, but more importantly also the government entities, the ministries that are still very skeptical about not the value. I think they understand the value in terms of, you know, as you mentioned, efficiency and flexibility and what have you, but in terms of security and privacy concerns. And I think, you know, Microsoft and all the other players, IBM, you know, Google, everyone has a role to play in really, as you said, raising the awareness, showing that, you know, security is top on the agenda of your companies and as, you know, considered as a serious matter. Building on this, you know, I want to move on to Martin. Martin is CEO of Wikitude. So Martin, maybe you can give us your insights on these three mega trends as Sharbel put them.
Push. Oh, that's much easier. Okay, got it. So thank you for the introduction. So, so this morning we heard a lot about basic things like internet penetration. We learned a lot about the trend towards mobile and towards mobility. My area of expertise is even one step further. So it's one step further into the future, and it's called augmented reality. So this means the devices we are working with are the cameras in a smartphone, the camera in a tablet, or even the camera in those fancy AR glasses you probably have learned about over the last few weeks and months, specifically driven by Google. So this means what we do. So the typical Wikitude move is like this one. meaning I hold my phone up, I turn on my phone's camera, we recognize what's being filmed, we recognize what is being recorded, and based on that, we display the right set of content on top of that. So this could be a landmark, so you're standing in front of Petra, and we recognize that landmark, give you information, just directly presented into the camera. This could be like a digital advertisement, meaning you hold your tablet at a print advertisement, and we suddenly make the logo jump out and make a video play. Or this could even be like facial recognition, meaning I hold my phone up and I can recognize who is sitting here in the audience. The latter actually is, interestingly, that's a service we built together with BlackBerry, meaning we are preloaded on most of the BlackBerry devices. Overall, there are about 20 million people on this planet to use Wiki2 technology. And what I mentioned about recognizing people, this is something we built together with BlackBerry, connecting the BlackBerry Messenger to the Wiki2 technology. And meaning if somebody of you have BlackBerries and turned on your BBM, I can now recognize you in this audience and send you a direct BBM message. So interestingly, as a link towards the Middle East, the #1 country for this service globally is Saudi Arabia. #2 country is the United Kingdom, and #3 are the United Arab Emirates. I'm not sure why this whole new technology aspect is so important for this region, but for us it's very exciting to see. Drawing the link towards the cloud. So obviously when talking about augmented reality, there is a magnitude of content you need to deal with. Of course, there are so many faces in there. There are so many landmarks out there. Like, for instance, in our database, there are more than 100 million points of interest that do have data attached to that. So we're talking about magazine advertisements. So there are so many advertisements that could be augmented. And this doesn't work with a phone in itself. So this has to be shifted into the cloud. So on one hand, with a big advantage that, of course, you can store much more data than you could on the device. With the other key advantage, and that's actually one key driver for augmented reality in digital advertisement, that you can measure and you can report and you can run analytics on what your customers do and how your customers interact with that print advertisement. So one of the key issue with print advertisements is simply that you can't run any success reports. You don't know how many eyeballs are watching this TV ad. It's hard to measure how many eyeballs are watching this print advertisement. And augmented reality allow the customer to, on one hand, really interact with that particular piece of content, with that particular product, but at the same time it also allows the advertisers to run reports, how he has interacted, what he did with that, etc., etc. And just to close the statement with a little example. So what just went live today, actually, that's like a mobile shopping experience run by augmented reality. So it's being presented at the Geneva Car Saloon today, and it's done together with Zalando. And what they do, they use Wiki2 technology for recognizing clothes worn by people. So this means I can just like hold this phone up and see, hey, I really like this tie. This will be recognized, and immediately I receive a recommendation with like my perfect pricing and the ability to purchase this using the Zalando store. And this is like the kind of potential augmented reality has for e-commerce, advertisement, and all those trends that need to be powered by cloud-based computing.
Thank you very much, Martin. Interesting, regarding augmented reality. I was actually last week in the Mobile World Congress. I think many of you were there too, and they've shifted venues. So for the past many years, they've held this event in a specific venue in Barcelona. And this year only they shifted it to a new, bigger, fancier venue, and they extensively used augmented reality. At least, being a techie, I directly, downloaded the augmented reality app on my iPhone, and I for the first time I experienced. I've used augmented reality before, but I've really witnessed, if you want, the value or the benefit of of augmented reality, taking me around this new venue, trying to get to know more about the different exhibitors and being more efficient and really reaching where I want to go. So it is happening. It's really quite interesting technology. Moving on, again around the same lines, same question. To Mr. Bashar Kilani from IBM, Territory Manager in IBM. So Bashar, if you would.
Thank you. Thank you. It's working good. So thank you very much. My name is Bashar Kilani. I'm the Territory Manager for IBM for the Gulf countries and Levant. I am from Jordan, so I have an advantage over my colleagues playing on my home turf here. I think IBM's been around for 101 years. Last year we had our big centennial celebration in New York, and we had leaders from all around the world to talk about IT and challenges in the region. We were honored by having His Majesty King Abdullah talking to many distinguished guests about the challenges and the opportunities for IT in this part of the world. His Majesty focused on the young population. 50% of the Jordanians are below 22 years of age. Very high education level, good speakers of English. They have a great reputation around the region. They speak Arabic. And there are many, many other opportunities that ICT can bring to this region in order to create new jobs and create a new industry around that. And His Majesty sent a very strong message to the audience around that. Going on to the discussion about what's next, what's the next wave. We spoke about big data, we spoke about commerce, we spoke about business analytics, we spoke about security and cloud. And I think the way IBM is looking at it is we believe and we understand there is now a third wave when it comes to technology. We will move into what we call a smarter planet or a smarter world, a smarter city. And this is a smarter place where you will see more big data analytics, you will see cloud computing, you will see commerce, you will see security, you will see cloud, you will see social business all coming together in a new platform for computing. And this is what we call the smarter world or the smarter planet. Everywhere you see IBM advertisement around the world, you'll see the word smarter, because this is the third wave or the next platform of computing. That's going to touch us in every aspect in our life. I like the question that Dr. Osama put forward and said, we don't know what we will do with big data. We have no clue. And I think I would agree with him to an extent. What IBM's done is we tried to see what this third platform or wave could look like, and we tried to create a metaphor or an example of what technology in that age would look like. Many of you remember the deep blue computer of the 80s, where IBM played against Kasparov in chess, and the computer won against the human brain in chess maybe 20, 25 years ago. That was simple because chess has very defined moves and probabilities, and you could actually define a computer and a program that can actually look at these probabilities and come up with the answer and can be faster than the human brain. I don't know how many of you heard about Watson. Watson is the founder of IBM, but also the name of the computer that we've launched last year in line with IBM's centennial. And Watson is a supercomputer, is a very powerful computer that can understand human language, analyze it, search in structured and unstructured data around the world, and come back with answers with certain probabilities. I don't know if in this part of the world many people hear about Jeopardy, but this is a very well-known game in North America. And Watson was able to beat two of the most professional players of Jeopardy. i.e., Watson was able to understand the language, understand the question, ask the question to the search for the answer in the structured and unstructured data, and come back with the correct answer. That is the smarter computing platform put together. That's the next wave of computing that we're talking about. How can we use Watson other than playing Jeopardy? Many of us have probably read in the press that Watson is now working in medicine, trying to solve issues around cancer or diabetes. Doctors ask Watson questions. Watson goes back, looks at all the structured and unstructured research around the world in cancer, and comes up with answers and probabilities within 6 seconds. That's an important step forward for human medicine and healthcare. Imagine what we can do with Watson in education. Imagine what you can do with Watson in the stock market. You can probably analyze the trends and see if you're going to make money or not. We in the Middle East here are trying to invite Watson to come to Dubai or to come to the region and do something for us in the Middle East. Look at some of our problems in the Middle East, the ones that were mentioned this morning about lack of content, or about Arabic search engines, or about things like diabetes or education in this part of the world, and how Watson can help us with that. We're looking at the Watson technology today for call centers. Why would you have many computers today and people looking at call centers when you can have one computer talking many languages, having access to all kind of structured and unstructured data, and can come back to you within less than 6 seconds with an answer? Watson last year was as big as a bedroom. This year is as big as a refrigerator. Probably in 2 or 3 years, Watson's going to be as big as an iPad. I don't know. But that's the next wave of technology and the next wave of computing that the smarter world and the smarter planet is all about. So big data is a big and important part of this. Cloud is the essence of this. Security is very important. Social business, doing business in the next age, and understanding how to use social media, how to use all these different data points and applications in order to put a value proposition around business. We're working today with many organizations around the region here, specifically in Dubai, around technology that will enhance the user experience on their websites, understanding how users behave, what they liked and what they didn't like, and how to transfer that into business. IBM is making a lot of investments in smarter commerce because we really believe that's the next wave of technology applications around the world. And maybe we're very right here. We're 400 times behind the rest of the world, but that's 400 times the opportunity ahead of us in order to do something around smarter commerce and technology around it. Very important also is to use technology in our daily struggle with energy. IBM's working with many research institutions in Saudi Arabia using nanotechnology and IT to deliver two kind of technological advantages. One is water desalination using nanotechnology, and the other one is solar energy. And if we can work together with these Saudi Arabian researchers and reduce the price of generating a kilowatt per hour of electricity from 15, 16 cents to 5 or 6 cents, that would make technology a great enabler for cheaper energy. And maybe one day Saudi Arabia or this part of the world can become an exporter of electricity rather than an importer of energy. So all these kind of technologies are going to converge together in a very interesting way into what we in IBM call the smarter planet. And we're seeing it happen every day. It's cloud, it's big data, it's security, it's social business, it's analytics, and it's all of it together. And that's what's going to make the difference. And I think this part of the world is very well positioned to take advantage of this. We've got the right resources. We are a very young population, a lot of education, and I think we just need the focus, and we need to select the areas where we want to make a difference. And I definitely believe if we start looking at what can Watson do for us in this part of the world, and look at the Oasis 500 companies with Dr. Osama and see how Watson, or the concept of Watson, can help these companies transform and innovate, I think they will automatically start thinking about the next wave of technology and the next wave of computing.
Thank you very much. again, very interesting to me. As I said earlier, I work a lot in Saudi Arabia, and it's interesting to see how, the large corporations, so the Oracles, the IBMs, and the Microsofts of the world are really tailoring, if you want, their approach, their solutions to address some of the challenges that the Arab world and the region is facing. Other examples come to mind that are quite specific to the region: women employment, and how can technology, or how can big players such as you gentlemen actually support, address this challenge. And there's a lot of discussions that I've been involved in with the Ministry of Labor in Saudi Arabia, for example, on how to crack this problem. Others, the ones you mentioned regarding renewable energy, desalination, specific problems that the region is trying to address.
Two points, if you allow me to
Yes.
add on this one. Saudi Arabia has probably one of the highest female graduates in IT. And I think software business and software development is an ideal market for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
If we can have a software development labs where you can have many female developers working and producing world-class software, that is an outstanding initiative. And we've started a number of discussions with that with the Saudi government. Also the focus on security and cloud. We will have in Saudi Arabia one of 9 SOCs around the world. So we will be taking a very bold step and have a SOC jointly with Mobily in Saudi Arabia. And of course, all of it is also around providing cloud services to the Saudi market and the market around it, jointly with Mobily.
Thank you very much, Bashar. Moving on to Jean-Claude Mishaka. Jean-Claude is VP Engineered Systems in Oracle. So Jean-Claude, your views on these mega trends?
On those 3 points, okay. In order to answer that, I'm going to roll a little bit back in time, because around 2004 at Oracle, we had a major change in strategy that was triggered by the fact that we recognized that companies spend far too much of their IT budget managing IT and very little on innovation. And we all know how important innovation is, especially in those markets. So you saw us embarking on a big acquisition strategy and buying a lot of companies, and you may have wondered, what's the rationale behind that? So the rationale was to basically, by putting that into a comprehensive software stack, we will take a lot of the inefficiency out and do the software integration that you do on a point-to-point and a manual work. So take a lot of the manual work and put that into software. But around 2007, our software teams became very frustrated with the progress we were making on software engineering only. And they said, if we want to break through into the next dimension of efficiency gains, we have to start to get into integrating a total stack from the silicon all the way to the software. And then that's where the Sun acquisition came in. And we came in then through that, we started to do concurrent engineering between hardware and software, and came in with a whole platform, a new platform that we called Engineered Systems, that I run for Eastern Europe, Central Asia, Middle East, and Africa. So that's kind of that, and this platform are the building blocks for our cloud strategy, the building blocks for our big data strategy, etc. So I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive on big data now, because I see that as the next area of efficiency gains and competitive advantage for corporation. This is really allow us to become a data-driven enterprise and not taking just decision based on gut feeling and what I call the hippo effect. Hippo, not the animal, but you'll hear that term used quite a lot in big data. It's the highest paid personal opinion. So because somebody is senior enough in the company, he basically calls the shot without really asking, what is the data saying? Where is this data coming from? How fresh is this data? And to illustrate my point, I'm just going to give you a little story that came out of Singapore. The city of Singapore wanted to figure out why on a rainy day you cannot find a taxi in Singapore. And they wanted to do a little research on that. And they went to the hippo, the mayor in that case, and he looked at them and said, you want to do what? Are you crazy? It's obvious. My cat knows the answer. On a rainy day, people jump on taxis. That's why you don't find them. Actually, they did the research, and they took all the GPS data for the last 10 years, correlated that with weather forecast data, and they found out that on a rainy day, 60% of the taxis sit idle on the side of the road. So that's strange. So they further analyzed the data and they found out that most of those taxis were part of one taxi company. So they called the taxi company to find out why. And they found out that that taxi company had a retainer on the salary of the taxi driver in case of an accident. So now guess what? When do an accident happen? On a rainy day. So you see now how you move away from, it's obvious my cat knows the answer, it's my gut feeling, tells me that, and you go into really a very well researched fact based on data analysis. That's kind of the holy grail where big data will take you. And you can very easily build your big data strategy based on your data warehouse, because a lot of companies have already done that. They know how to take their hot data, revenue, quarters, SKUs or whatever, put it in a database and doing some queries at the top of it. But now the challenge is, how do you bring in all the non-structured data that is exploding outside of your firewall, you mash it together with your structured data, and you start to do some serious analysis in order to understand what actually people are saying about my brand, sentimental analysis, who are my best advocates, who are my worst nightmare out there that are bashing my brand, and these kind of things. And then you move into the velocity, how to do things at top speed. And here I'm going to give you another example that we did with the city of Chicago during the last NATO summit. What they did, they were starting to analyze Twitter feeds in real time in order to understand what the rioters were planning. And by understanding where they were going to strike next, they could very quickly redeploy the police forces around the city of Chicago. So that was, again, how do you analyze real-time data and be able to act upon in order to prevent things from happening? So that's kind of my...
Thank you very much, Jean-Claude. Again, gentlemen, for the sake of time, we're running a bit short on time, and we don't want to disrupt the entire schedule. So I'm going to have to start wrap things up. And the question I want to ask the panel is really on one thing that I believe we touched upon a little bit in the earlier discussions, but deserves a bit more time, which is what is the implication of these mega trends on capabilities, in particular on human capabilities. Given that we know talent is one of the challenges the region faces, and there was a nice example on Saudi Arabia, percentage of women graduating with computer science or with engineering degrees. But broadly speaking, what are the implications on human capital in the region, and how do you see that companies like, again, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM can actually contribute to addressing this challenge? And effectively, what are you gentlemen actually doing today to address this challenge? So again, starting with you, Sharbi.
It's all about people, especially in the way you serve technology and the way you consume. And the good thing about technology with these trends, they're becoming more, part of our daily life. We always say, am I a consumer or I'm working in an enterprise? Yeah. We used to say, like, when you leave home in the morning, you stop being a consumer until you go back home, you become a consumer. So in this day, you work as an enterprise. So you have to have the security. Yeah. I think now it's you're both a consumer and an enterprise working every time. You all work at home on the weekends, you work when you go back home, even when you're at work, you're really maybe blogging. So the whole 4 mega trends are very interdependent. Never look at them in isolation. Yeah. So what does it create? It creates value for you as a consumer, but also in terms of business opportunity. Microsoft, we have been investing in this, those trends, we adopted them. We are really making sure we're trying to make them part of every product and service. And the company now saying, we want to deliver continuous cloud services to every person, to every device, to every business. This is where we're transforming the company. To do that, we need to enable capability and skills to create those experiences. So one of the things we do, starting from a life cycle of a person, which is the K-12, we start in education. How do we bring this to students? How do we bring this to teachers? How do you bring this to schools? How do you bring them devices? How you bring them cloud? How do users consume big data? Because everybody is searching. They're searching on big data. Everybody is collaborating on social networks. And also, this is like the value of those trends to the users, because they create freedom, they create transparency, people collaborate, businesses can engage with their customers. So we have programs when you finish the K-12, we have something called Partners in Learning, which we work mainly with the ministers of education to really drive the K-12. How do we bring access, the content, and the experience? But at the same time, at the end of the secondary years, we engage with the students in something called a Dream Spark. Dream Spark is a program where we provide the students in the last couple of years to start really becoming, if they want to be architect, they want to be financial, they want to be HR, they want to be in healthcare, they can start thinking how they can contribute to the challenges of the world. And they can use technology for that. And we start helping them get ready for university. So when they go to university, we engage in programs like IT academies. We get Imagine Cup for help them innovate and start feeling that they can be entrepreneurs, they can build companies, not only go work, and that will create the jobs. So when you have the Dream Spark, you start really getting closer to go to work. And that's where we create a program called Student to Business. So we bridge those students to go to business, and we start matching them with our customers, with our partners. And then we take another program called Biz Spark. Biz Spark, it's about how do we get startups to be supported. Like tomorrow, we're launching, I think today, with Oasis 500, a mentorship for the accelerator and the startups. How can they use these technologies? How can they benefit from the cloud? How can they benefit from mobility? How can they benefit from big data? And all of this is a core of the company vision, company value proposition. So, and we believe in partnership. We believe in ecosystems, be it on applications, be it on hardware, be it on big data, and even on this social computing. So it's exciting time. I think people ask the question, are you optimistic? I think I'm very optimistic for this region. These mega trends are leveling the field for our people to compete globally, because now you can really take your application that you developed in Jordan and put it on Microsoft Azure cloud and serve the world. You don't have to pay for hardware. You don't have to pay for really the security expert. You don't have to pay for the broadband and the data processing. And so you just pay when you make money. And even for the BizSpark that we do, we help the startups not to pay at the beginning until they really become big businesses. So it's a great opportunity to contribute to these mega trends, to create jobs, at the same time for businesses also to embrace those mega trends into their own companies to compete on a global level.
All right, thank you very much, Sharbil. Ladies and gentlemen, I really apologize. We're going to have to wrap it up here. It was a very interesting discussion. Very nice to have you all here on the panel. Thank you very much. And thank you. Sorry for not taking questions from the audience. Thanks.